Well, you're welcome. Well, danke for that introduction. We have some German language students who are probably watching this now. Blind Audition, really interesting film. Are you a musician yourself? Is that what drew you into trying to create this film?
Well, I started with like violin playing when I was 10 years old and did for I think 10 years. And after I finished school, I stopped it because I was like not into like playing every day and like rehearsing like crazy and stuff. But that's like a bit where it comes from. And also my sister is like a professional cellist, and so I get a lot of influence from musicians all the time.
Interesting. So this is a way of picking up the violin without actually playing it in a sense.
That's totally true. Yeah, I played it on the shooting of the film. I just remember because Simon, the main actor from who interpreted Ron, he of course is a great violinist, and sometimes I would play a few notes and he would correct me all the time. That was quite funny.
Oh, that's good that you mentioned that. I was wondering if your characters were actually musicians, and the character of Ron, he was very good. I guess he actually performed. That was his actual performance in the film, or was someone else performing? You dubbed it in.
It was his actual performance, and that was like a crazy coincidence in a way, because we were like thinking of, should we choose like an actor who has to learn playing violin, and or should we like look for a violinist who has to learn acting basically. And then from like a connection over the producer of the film to another friend, suddenly somebody told us, okay, there's a guy trying to become an actor who is already a violinist. And so we immediately tried to meet him. And when we met up, he told us he already played like a few little roles, but never in film also, and is a professional violinist. And so we started talking to him, and then of course agreed to make the film with him. And that was a great experience. But I also remember, I mean, 4 weeks before the actual shoot started, I told him which piece he had to play, and I was doubting a lot that he would be able to play it somehow, because it was really hard. And he always said, no, no, don't worry, it's easy, I'm gonna play it. I already played like more difficult stuff, and I was always like, oh, is he really going to make it? And then on stage, when we actually shot that scene where he plays the whole part, he like was insanely well playing, and I was totally stunned. And it was similar to Han Nguyen, who plays Ari, because she was in school still at that time, and she was on a music school, funny enough. And then we also like started practicing those parts that she had to play. They were a little bit shorter, but it was like also from her, she was a violinist and an actress, or becoming an actress. Yeah.
Well, very, very interesting. So, what was it like working with the musician as opposed to someone who's trained in acting? Did you have to actually coach them a lot? Or since they actually knew how to be a violinist, what was your role as a director in working with these characters?
I mean, the advantage of it is, I guess, that they are doing something they know really well. I mean, they don't have like to play a role that they are not at all somehow, but they have to play a role that they are quite close to, I would say. And like the biggest task, I guess, was to start rehearsing and to give them an idea of what it is to act in a movie, because they never did that before. I mean, Han did it before, but Simon never played in a movie before. So we started like rehearsing and working on their scenes or on similar scenes, and that was like the process when I think for Simon it was really interesting to see like what's the difference between theater and movie playing and that stuff. And he was also super quick in adapting to actual playing for the movie and like really feeling those moments. But in the end, we had all this like I mean we had all the setup, all the setting, which had to feel really real with all the extras and like also violinists in the extras and stuff. And my idea was to create an atmosphere that felt really real to him in a way, and to play on a huge stage and all this stuff. So everything came together, and then also both of them were really well like prepared and took a lot of time to rehearse for the part and stuff. And it was a really exciting process, because usually you could also like have like already finished and trained actors, and then you just tell them what to do, and then it starts somewhere else. But it wasn't like I would never say it was a disadvantage. It was more like a really interesting process, and since it was so close to what they experienced themselves, it I would say it was like there was the possibility to make it really natural in a way of acting.
Yeah, it did come across in a very natural way. Now let's look at a little bit more at the film itself. You packed a lot in 17 minutes. It almost felt like a long motion picture. Was this film a preview or maybe of a feature, or did you mean for this just to be a short?
It was planned as a short because it was also in the course of our studies that we had to make like a more or less 20 minutes movie, and also which is like the bit like of a backstory to this film is that we had to shoot it on actual film. So we had like 16 millimeter footage, and we knew we only would have for the whole film I think it was 2 hours and 30 minutes we could actually shoot. So we were like incredibly limited in takes. Basically every take we could make 2 or 3 times at the maximum, often just one time because we had to save some footage. And that's why we also planned in the script writing and everything to make a short film about it. But I mean, I'd always am thinking also, I mean, the story kind of continues in the end, or like leaves things open. So I'm always, I mean, I like the topic and stuff. I also like competition and relationships, this kind of topic. So that's of course always a thing I'm thinking of. Yeah.
Exactly. Just want to remind our audience that we're halfway through, and if you have questions, please put them in the portal, and I'll get to them as time allows. The I guess the little plot twist in there. We see that Ron did not drop the pen, and he still ended up getting the role in it, but Ari did not know that. She still thinks that he cheated. So he left it open-ended, wanting people to know what this for a sequel. So if you were to continue this or make it a sequel, what will happen? Or do you not want to tell that?
Yeah. I mean, they would go home, I guess, together, still in a really bad mood. And it's hard to say. I mean, the point why I didn't, or why I chose this kind of ending where it ends at this like level where you don't know how they're gonna find out or ever, it's because in my eyes they never gonna find it out in the end. I mean, he always has to tell her I didn't do it, but he can't prove it anymore, and she always has to believe him that what he says is the truth, but she won't get a like proof for it. And that's a bit like the dilemma of this relationship in the end. I mean, most people I ask like how does it continue always say like, no, that's the film about the couple that separates in the end. So that's quite funny. So apparently most people think it's ending like that. I probably also would say it's going to end like that. If it doesn't end like that, immediately it might end like that later, but the thing I'm like onto in the end is this question of trust. Is it possible to trust somebody that much who did those things and he can't prove anything? So like relationship is about trust in the end. That's what I think. And yeah.
Exactly. Hence the title Blind Audition. Being blind, you have to be trusting,
Yeah.
in a way. And speaking of being blind, we have a question that's come in. Someone wants to know, why do Ron and Ari practice blindfolded?
Yeah, that is a really nice question. The that was like a memory I had from actually playing with the violin, because there's this idea where you can usually, often things don't work, but you already can do them. There's just some psychological stuff that prevent you from actually like playing a good chord or like the notes correctly. And this blind playing, of course, it's like the whole topic, blind audition and stuff, that we wanted to put this in. But I also remembered sometimes I would, not often though, but sometimes I would play blind or with eyes closed. I mean, never blindfolded, to be honest, but with the eyes closed. And that's like symbolizes a little bit, you have to trust what you can, you have to like feel it more than actually like controlling it with your eyes, because at the moment you start like controlling your fingers, if they are on the right spot, you're often already too late to catch the right spot somehow. So it's a very physical, a very like organic kind of process. And yeah, I think that's the idea behind it, although I mean I was definitely going for the idea and the joke behind it, that they start like blind, and also they start blind, and then in the end they have the eyes open in a way about each other. That's what I would say.
Exactly. Yes, it comes full circle with that. Um, with the film itself, what has the reaction been? I know you receive accolades. How did your actors feel about the film, and just maybe your friends and family? What did they think of it?
um, the actors, I mean, for them it was really exciting to see themselves, and then on the premiere on the festival it was really exciting because some parts of the team were there, and then we watched it all together, and I think they were quite happy about the result and how they appeared on the film, and all this. And my family, I mean, they also liked it, of course, a lot, but they also know me, and then it was very funny to see this quite personally driven film, and how it's received by my parents or my sister, who's as I mentioned, who's a cellist. And often, I mean, I have to be honest, like family is often the most critical. So it's always like you have to like kind of defend why you did that or this, and that's always really funny.
That is funny. I have another question that's come in. Is do auditions really happen like that, in which there is a big screen in front of the judges and the performer?
Yeah, it actually really happens like that. I mean, it's not always like a tissue or like yeah. It can also be a wooden wall or something, but they often do it. They don't do it all the time, but the idea behind it, or why it was like initially used, is because it was also like a gender question, because there was this Vienna orchestra and it only accepted men because they always got in their best friends and whatever. And then they started this idea of, okay, they have to play behind a curtain, and it has to be anonymous, and we want to ensure the best quality. And of course afterwards it would change a lot in the Vienna Philharmonic, and they would be a lot more mixed and everything. And that's the idea. I mean, they like the best orchestras in the world or everywhere, they don't want to like get the best friends in there, but the best players in the end, and that's why they should do it or do it. But for the musicians, it's very hard to play behind a wall, not seeing anybody. This is one of the most uncomfortable situations, I guess.
And that's interesting. That's good information there for those people who are familiar with the process. We have another question related to that same topic is, why does Ari say it is important to dress up even though the judges will not be able to see you?
Good question. That was like in the very early stages of the script, like something we wanted to develop in the different characterizations of the two of them. So we wanted him to be more like a little bit of the jokey kind of guy, and her or him more the guy who plays things down and stuff, and her the person who takes things really serious and who wants to be super well prepared. So he's still struggling in the beginning. She's she knows how to play the part and gives him advice. So those were the differences, and then he gets this offer. So that's since he gets the offer, we wanted to balance those kind of characterizations in the two of them, and that's why she says like I want to dress up, and this is like part. I would say this is part of her getting into a comfort zone and saying this is how I want to execute it.
That totally makes sense. It does. You dressed the part in a sense. We're almost out of time. My final question for you is, what's next for you? What are you working on now? What can we expect to see in the near future?
At the moment, like right now, I'm working on a half-hour project, and it's going to be like 29 minutes or something. And it's this time it's also about a young violinist, but in a historic context. So it plays during World War II and is after a true story of a young guy who was like a Jewish partisan playing in a German Nazi club, and is going to be quite complex in terms of what happened to this guy and what he's going to do there. Yeah.
Wow, sounds very interesting. Can't wait to see it. Well, Andreas, we really appreciate the time that you took out of your schedule to chat with us today. And we thank you for this conversation as well. And I failed to mention in the beginning that you're joining us all the way from Southern Germany. So I don't know if you want to say vielen Dank to our German language students.
Sure. Ja, vielen Dank, dass ich hier sein konnte, und alles Gute.
Okay, well, danke schön. Thank you for joining us, and thank you, audience, for participating. For more information about the upcoming 45th Cleveland International Film Festival, please continue to follow CIFF on social media and visit clevelandfilm.org. I'm Eric Seiler. Thank you.